When I made chief permanently, they asked me who I wanted as my deputy chief. And within 2 seconds, I knew it was Dean. He could handle personnel, he knew the streets, and my weak spots were his strong spots. His weak spots were my strong spots. But eventually we knew that there's no case that we couldn't handle. There's a long street in Union that goes through Elizabeth, Union, Springfield. Am I missing any?
In
Union County.
That's all.
And it is a very busy road. And there is a small store called the Lucky Corner Gift Shop.
I think they run the Atlantic City bus trips out of there too.
They run Atlantic City bus trips. Atlantic City, very big in New Jersey. Bus trips to senior citizens. It's as big as the Sopranos in the Jersey Shore around here. But be that as it may, if I remember correctly, it had a counter service where you could get coffee, very small run-of-the-mill place. I wouldn't even call it a diner. It was more like an old drugstore back in the 50s or 60s. Well, in the middle of the day, a young man walks into the store and asks for a candy bar. Within seconds of asking for that candy bar, he then proceeds to shoot 2 males inside the place, point blank in the head. The composite sketch that I'm about to show you is sent out on what's called track. Do you want to explain what a track system is?
That's a messaging, like an all points bulletin, where the sketch would be put out on the internet to all law enforcement agencies, and we can pretty much set it up as to where we want to go. Eastern Seaboard, all states, we want to concentrate in certain areas.
Back in those days, besides the internet, we could fax it out and go out in any way possible. So someone in Virginia identifies the individual off the sketch as someone that they were looking for down there for the murder of a 15-year-old Boy Scout.
And the case I'm speaking of, this young woman who had such a bright future ahead of her was killed in an instant by a serial rapist and killer. He began his crime spree up in Connecticut, where he was in custody for, I think, burglaries and thefts, and was elevated to a halfway house in Connecticut. And one night he snuck out of the halfway house, broke into a home nearby in Connecticut, and wound up raping a young woman there. He left, was not caught. Apparently, about a week later, snuck out of the halfway house a second time, went back to the same house in Connecticut in an attempt to rape the same young woman, and was confronted by her father. This man, James Lamont Coussard, stabbed and killed this man and fled Connecticut. We noticed an uptick in rapes. We began having a series of rapes that were similar, where people were bound, and he just tortured these women and did horrendous things to them. And the biggest break in that part of the case was he had actually walked into a law firm where there was a woman attorney and 2 women clients, and he came in and held them all at knife point and made them perform sexual acts on him in the presence of each other. He didn't want to harm any of them, but they actually got a good look at his face, and we actually did a composite sketch. Unfortunately, Vince was not the artist on that one. It might have been the first year he started doing it, 1993, right?
That's correct.
So we might not have known about him yet. So we had a great composite sketch and a good description of this suspect, who we believe was linked to now these at least 3 rapes in this area. One night, a patrolman stops a guy fitting the description. And as he asks the guy his name, he tells him his name is Gregory Coussard, which is the actual cousin, the real person that he was living with and hiding out with. And when they ran the name Greg Coussard, they found that Gregory Coussard had a warrant for his arrest. So unbeknownst to Mr. Coussard, James Coussard, he was about to be placed under arrest for something he wasn't even responsible for.